Hey, what's up? These are my most popular comic book related TikTok videos. Some of them got as high as like a couple million views, which is pretty cool. I don't know that they deserve that, but that's, thank you. Have fun. Hope you enjoy. Bye. Before I go any further with this game, there's one mechanic that I have to test. This will make or break the game for me. Can you do a loop-de-loop spin with the web? Let's find out.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What, no way! You can do that! Yeah, woo! This is the greatest game ever! Whoa! Please say this is recording. Did you get that? Can you see that?
Ooh. Alright, what else can you do in this game? Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I know that there are comics about it, but realistically, if there was a zombie apocalypse in the DC universe, it wouldn't last long. There's absolutely no way Batman is getting bitten. Like, he's way too perceptive, and like, he'll just grapple up to the ceiling if the room's full of zombies. They're not gonna like crawl on the wall Spider-Man style. And it frustrates me when characters like Superman and the Flash get infected, because it's like, how did this happen? I don't understand. Like, for Superman, even if whatever virus is turning humans into zombies can affect Kryptonian DNA, there's no way that the teeth of a dead, decaying human could possibly break through Superman's skin. The Flash can perceive events faster than light can travel from one molecule to the other, so how could they possibly bite him? How could they sneak up on him? He can phase through walls. If he's like surrounded by zombies, he just phases his molecules through them. The zombies are like, yeah! And then the Flash is like, get it, because he's already gone. A lot of the times they'll just have powerful characters get bitten or infected when we don't see it, and then the writers are just like,
how'd that get in there?
what? No, you can't just say that. That doesn't make sense. You can't just...
Oh, don't cry.
What? Originally, when DC wanted to decide whether Jason Todd's Robin should live or die, they put it up to a vote with the fans. They said, call this number if you want Jason to live, and call this number if you want him to die. And ultimately, more people called the number saying that he should die, so they killed him. And originally, this made me sad, because I was like, man, enough people dislike the character that they wanted him to die. But then I got to thinking, in the modern age of the internet, everybody is so aggressive towards fiction that I don't think there would be a single character that would be voted to live. Like, you could even do a poll on the most wholesome character that you can think of. Like, it could be like,
alright everybody, it's up to you. Should Grogu live or die?
and every single comment would be like, rip his fucking head off!
I want to see him suffer.
Make him bleed! So I know that I've said that I love Spider-Man 2, but I have my first complaint, and it almost made me uninstall the game. So at this point, I've platinumed the game. I've beat it 100%. But I'm bored, so I'm like, I'm gonna get on Spider-Man, and I'm just gonna swing around and stop crime. The game loads, and I'm on the select save slot screen, right? And at this moment, I decide, my throat's feeling a little dry. I'm parched. Let me get a sip of some water. I sit up to get some water, and my controller slides off of my bed. I must have done something very heinous in a previous life, because the stars aligned, and as the controller falls, it lands just in the wrong angle to land on the triangle button, and then bounce and land on the X button. Let me explain something. For some reason, the delete save button is triangle, and then you just confirm by pressing X. So my 100% platinum save of Spider-Man 2 has been entirely erased. It's gone. So at this point, I'm like, I'm never fucking playing this game again. My life was over. But it's cool, I was able to retrieve an older save file, and in retrospect, it was entirely my fault, not the game's fault at all. Welcome to rating Spider-Man villains on whether or not they would be scary in real life. When you think of popular Spider-Man villains, there's one that comes to mind immediately. The most popular Spider-Man villain. So let's do him first. That's right, you guessed it. Big Wheel. He's 5'5", 140 pounds, and trapped inside of a big wheel. His main powers consist of being in a big wheel. I think it goes without saying that Big Wheel would be horrifying in real life. Can you look me in the eyes and tell me that you would be able to sleep at night knowing that there's somebody out there in a big wheel? Exactly. DC Comics, when colorblind people see a lantern corps approaching their city from the distance, do you think they're just like, man, I really hope that's green? This Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse theory is true. It changes everything. So the theory goes that Spider-Man gets bitten by the spider. Let me know in the comments what you think of this theory. I love the range of how evil different villains are in the DC universe, because it goes from the average person to the most terrible person you've ever even heard of. I feel like on one side it's like, this evil villain is known as Dog Walker. He takes dogs from shelters that are about to be euthanized for not being adopted, and trains them to free dogs that are in the same situation, or that live in abusive homes. He also trains them to rob banks so that he can afford to have a home. But then on the other side it's like, this is Baby Crusher. He takes babies from their homes and puts them into hydraulic presses and crushes them. I was thinking about how funny it would be if Batman handled all crimes in Gotham, not just the dangerous ones. Imagine you're just watching a streamer who happens to live in Gotham, and then suddenly it's like, I was actually thinking about showing after this match, showing all of the illegal Lego building techniques that I've used throughout my builds. Hold on, Chad, I think I heard something.
This is not going to be pretty.
Don't you hate when you say you want to be Spider-Man and then somebody's like, no, trust me, you don't want to be Spider-Man. If you started to swing like him, your
fibers would tear from your body and you die a terrible death.
Maybe that's what I want. Maybe I want to do that. Who are you to tell me that I can't do what I want to do? If I want to live my life in that way, who the This is part 5 of rating Batman villains on whether or not they would be scary in real life. Welcome back. Riddler is actually really interesting, because if you go with the more traditional comic version, he's more annoying than anything. But recently we've been getting darker versions, like the version in the Batman where he's just like, is he looking at me? No, he can't be looking at me. He's got this creepy, psychotic energy to him where you know he's going to do something terrible, and you can't do anything to stop him. He feels all too realistically creepy. This version of Riddler would be horrifying in real life. I've actually gotten a surprising number of comments saying that I should rank Catwoman. And I'm gonna be honest, she's really cool, but she's not scary. She's not really meant to be. Like, obviously she would beat me in a fight, but what circumstance would I ever be in a fight with her? For the sake of ending on one that isn't horrifying, let's go ahead and do one with a wholesome name, like... Okay, yeah, here's one. Let's go ahead and do Dollmaker. He's gotta be not too scary. Wait, he did that to people? Wait, those are kids? Who came up with this? People have been saying in the comments that Bruce Wayne gets away with having so many scars because he just says that he does extreme sports. I can't explain why, but every time I hear extreme sports, I think of skateboarding for some reason. So I imagine somebody asking like, hey Bruce, how come you have a bullet hole wound? And then he's like, yeah, I skateboard from time to time. Hey, what would you do if you were Spider-Man for a day? Wait! Whoa, I'm Spider-Man! My life sucks! This is f***ing terrible! Whoa! Hey, don't worry, ponder no more, because I've come up with the one true solution to this question. I don't think that enough people talk about how in some iterations of the DC universe, Dick Grayson starts being Robin at 9 years old. Psychological trauma aside, that must be really weird for the criminals, right? Like, imagine it from their perspective. You're like, alright boys, mark my words. I'm gonna be the one that killed a bat tonight. Then a child descends from the sky out of nowhere, looks you in the eyes and says,
I'm gonna break every bone in your body.
Wait, what? And then he does. I would never show my face in public again. So I see a lot of debate on whether or not the Flash should have goggles in his helmet. Sometimes people are like, oh my god, the Flash's goggles are so cool, whoa! And then other times people are like,
this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
But regardless of what you think about how they look, they kind of become necessary when you remember, you know how like when a bug hits a windshield? You remember how that looks? Imagine that, but like on your eyeball, like directly on and inside your eyeball. Suddenly the goggles make sense. I don't care how goofy I look, I'm wearing them, and I'm not having that happen. I'm not gonna. I made a video asking how the women that Bruce Wayne hooks up with don't know he's Batman based on how built he is and all of the scars that he would have. And the main solution that I saw is that he probably just covered his scars in makeup. And that's a good idea and would work for the smaller scars, but the problem is, a lot of intense scars will either concave into your skin or like protrude outward, especially since he has scars that are from bullet holes and swords being swung at him at full speed. Putting makeup over that would be the same thing as if you had a giant hole in your apartment wall and your landlord came to check on the place, so instead of putting a giant poster in front of the hole to hide it, you just painted the hole. It's like, yeah, it's the same color now, but I still see the giant fucking hole. I think Jason Todd is the smartest former Robin. Now before you say anything, I know that that's a cue for every comic book fan ever to say, no, they say in the comics that Tim Drake is the smartest. But hear me out on this. Jason is the only one who, after his turn as Robin, have his new suit for his new superhero identity cover his entire face. Like, the domino masks that the others wear are cool, but like, I don't think they would be as good at hiding secret identities as they say. I know sometimes the costume design for Red Robin will have most of his face covered. It'll be like a Batman helmet without ears. But his chin and mouth are still showing, so you could maybe figure it out from that. But for Jason, there's no way. Plus, sometimes they'll even say the mask has a voice changer, so you couldn't even like track his voice. Jason's got the secret identity part down to a science. I know that Spider-Man fans don't want to hear this, but I'm starting to think that Spider-Man might not actually be real. I've come up with this theory for 2 reasons. The first reason is I've never actually seen Spider-Man in real life, and the second reason is the other day I got bit by a radioactive spider, and I didn't get any powers. Instead, I just threw up all over myself and then slipped in the vomit. At first I thought that this was just the way that my powers would come in, but then I blacked out and woke up still covered in my own vomit. I feel like having a real-life Spider-Man would very quickly turn us all into J. Jonah Jameson. And justifiably so. Since with great power comes great responsibility, we would have to hold them accountable for every single mistake that they made. But that's a bunch of nerd shit. Can you imagine how cool it would be to swing around the city Spider-Man style like, wah